Nothing can prepare you for being on top of the world, running $1 billion division, to waking up the absolute next day with no quota, no employees, nothing to strategize on. Nothing can prepare you for that type of transition. I spent years building something and identifying it. It was my identity. Nothing could have truly prepared me for that moment of emptiness of, holy who am I?
What's up, and welcome back to the Living Vision Show. I got something special for you today. I've got a very special guest in the house, and you're going to like, if not love, this conversation. Fair warning, it is going to make you uncomfortable, and it might open up a couple questions that you have to ask. Joining me today is Phil Vella. He's the CEO of Vella, based here in Scottsdale. And his journey to launching this company is one that I think you're really going to love and appreciate. Phil was a remarkable, standout even, employee that helped grow Cisco's acquisition of WebEx into a $5 billion success story. And once he decided to leave that, his next journey that we can research and find and that he'll talk about is his new company, Vella. But that's not what this podcast is about. This episode is a deep dive into what happens when a success story, a monolithic tale of victory ends, and what happens on the in-between journey from there to now. I get to ask Phil all about what it was like to leave when you're on top, and whether you're running a business or have a W-2, the exit is always something we aspire to, but we talk about what it really looks like. And then we talk about the journey to finding new, to finding a mission, to finding a vision, and what it looks like to bring that to life. This is a very special episode for me. I'm excited to talk about all of what it looks like in transition, because this is my specialty and our specialty here at Living Vision. Phil is an example of someone living in their vision today and has a remarkable story to tell. Thanks for joining. Welcome to the show, Phil Vella. All right, we're in the studio. Phil, it's Friday. It's a beautiful day. I appreciate you making time to be here.
Thank you very much, Aaron. I'm excited, man.
Well, let's start with this. Your history is loud and proud on the internet, so people can go research it. But to anchor where we're going, you had a successful career, built a big name for yourself at Cisco, sold a lot, became an accolade, award-winning representative inside that company. At the point where you were at your peak, where were you mentally? What were you feeling physically? Were you just like on top of the world, or was there more going on?
It's a lot to unpack, but I think that it was the greatest ascent of my life at the time. Like being at Cisco, coming from a WebEx transition and an acquisition. I went in, I was 7 years. I was the number one sales rep out of 20,000. I won 4+ chairman awards. I had all the accolades. I was the first software sales employee, launched the division from $0. And at the point of my departure, we were doing right around 5 billion. So we grew it immensely, multiple product lines. And I felt good financially, crushing. You know, the downside of that is when you used to come home to your daughter, your family, I didn't have the energy, and it was depressing sometimes. I had so much energy showing up at work, Aaron, so much. And I would come home, my daughter would be like, "Daddy, play with me." And I'd be like, "Honey, I'm tired. I'm going to go to bed." And so those are just some of the things that I look back upon of like, man, not that I sold my soul for money, but money was my North Star. It was my God at the time. It was like, how do I achieve more? How do I find more? It was my identity, this director of worldwide software sales. And it, you know, at the time served me very well, until it didn't. And I think that's the big thing here is as I chased it, I kind of, I did great. And I always thought like more money would bring more happiness. And, what I learned, like, as it went, like, it was amazing, transcend. But it didn't. And one day it all came to a head, but it was an amazing journey 14 years, one of the most amazing companies in the world. I give them all the grace. I give them all the love. And it was fun.
I want to dig into the transition because whether you're at a job and you're crushing it, or you're running your own company and you sell it, there's a transition coming for all of us. And I think the end game for all of us is to find some kind of exit. That's the language we use, but the exit is glorified, but it's not always that great. So I want to hear a little bit about not so much why, but you made this choice to leave. What was it like choosing that? Were there fears? Were there hesitations? Did you feel like you were just going to exit into the stratosphere and like claim glory forever? And then what was the next day like?
Nothing can prepare you for being on top of the world, running $1 billion division, to waking up the absolute next day with no quota, no employees, nothing to call, nothing to strategize on. Nothing can compare you or prepare you, pardon me, for that type of transition. Going and leaving was a bittersweet day. It was, me transitioning into father life and becoming a single dad at the time. And so I was really excited. I thought, I'm like, hey, this is the next step, the next leap. I've had an amazing career, but I spent years building something and identifying it. It was my identity. Like, it was my title, my role, my power, your span of control, the ego, all came to a halt in one day.
That sounds awful.
It was the first time life was quiet. And that was a humbling experience. I felt unneeded that day. I felt lost. Nothing could have truly prepared me for that moment of emptiness, of holy shit, who am I?
So did the version of you coming into that moment is powerful, strong, significant, and the version the next day, and I'm sure for a transition period, is to use your word, empty. How else would you describe that moment? Was it a complete opposite? Also powerless? Did you feel insignificant? You said unneeded.
I mean, it was the first time ever that I didn't know my purpose, right? And I had to find, like, I had accomplished a lot. You should be grateful. Like, I think about people who retire forever, and I'm like, they did well, but then you lose your purpose. I don't know how many people work for 65 years and die a year after retirement, because the drive, the get up every day, the reasoning of what and why we believe at the time we exist, it's gone. And I left who I was, and I think I fell into, we'll talk about it, but fell into the man that I was meant to be. And it wasn't the glorified version of what I thought it was. And to be crazy transparent, it's so much better.
I love that. So we got a happy ending at the end of this, but I want to dig into this more. It's a problem that men don't talk about. It's also a problem that successful people don't talk about. And the transition is messy. Like, if you wake up and your identity's gone, inevitably you've got to go on a quest to rebuild it. What were your initial actions to try to rebuild it or re-find yourself? Was there anything unhealthy or just unproductive in that space? Did you like completely disconnect and just become lazy? I have to imagine there's some sense of the down before the up that created the you that is today. What were some of those things?
I think any alpha man needs something to do. When you wake up in the morning and you don't have purpose, you don't have something to do, you will fall to the world's demons. You putting God first in my life saved a lot of things, not for this particular podcast, but it's laid a lot of the foundation. So I did fall pretty hard. It was a crash. It was a crash. I started drinking more. I started going out more. I kind of lived a crazy life because I had the money, I didn't have to wake up in the morning.
You had a lot of money and no time, or a lot of money and a lot of time.
Yeah, a lot of money and a lot of time. And you end up getting, I was a single dad, so I was able to dial in and use my daughter as kind of an anchor to keep me level set, but that didn't prevent me from making stupid decisions. And it came down to, it wasn't, a lot of people say finding themselves. It's not about finding you. You're right here. We're right here, Aaron. What are you going to find? We're right in front of you. I can see myself on the camera, but it's about creating who you want to be.
Yes.
That's what I really had to take a set back and be like, who are you? Like, you were this guy, you had this title, you felt so amazing, you had purpose, entitlement. All of those things came crashing down. And why? Because they were built on fake pillars. They were built on things that people validated you in. You were not validating yourself. And that's what I look at is, I had my pride and my ego was built on the validation of others in a career. And now I had to become my own pride, my own validation. I had to look in the mirror and I had to become the man that I wanted to be, so that when, I've done videos on this, when all else falls away, like the man makes the watch doesn't make the man. And you walk in the room, you should glow, your energy should emit. And at that point, without a title, it didn't. And so I had to go and recreate. And I say recreate, create. Maybe I didn't create anything up until that point. I mean, there was a man that existed, but he wasn't built on a foundation that couldn't crumble. It was a house built on stilts.
Man, I feel like the two most important questions I've ever asked myself are, who are you and what do you want? And they're really hard questions, especially when you have the option to choose anything and you have the liberty, the time to find anything else, right? Because that question requires sitting in some stillness and some discomfort. What did you do to find home again? What were some of the things that allowed you to go through the process? Because on the outside, the way you describe that and the way I would describe it sounds like a very quick soundbite, right? Oh, this took like a day. It probably took months and a lot of uncomfortable reflection and mirror moments and inquisition. Like, give us a little detail into what you did to get through there.
There's a lot more to the story that I'm going to give today, but there was so many things happen in my personal life, my family life, becoming a single dad. And the word loss doesn't have enough power. I think it's just not powerful enough to explain. I was non-existent in my own mind. And so I actually went to, funny enough, Eat, Pray, Love. Someone talked to me about this movie and they're like, listen, watch this movie. I watched the movie and I'm like, Bali? I don't understand what I'm supposed to do here. What am I supposed to do? And they're like, Bali. And I'm like, okay. So I go to Bali for 1 week. I come back 5.5 months later. And anybody who's watching, Bali is, I don't care what you're going through, whether you need inspiration, motivation, cure for depression. Not that I'm selling destination healing or destination life, but it can absolutely help you. It's an amazing culture. It's an amazing place. It's so peaceful. But I went there and I had to level set who I am and untell many of the lies of who I thought I was. I was lying to myself about who I was. I was lying to myself about so many things. And it allowed me to become rooted in who I really was. And that, it was hard. Nobody's clapping for you anymore, right? Nobody's there cheering you on. No one's depending on you for their careers. And so now it was, what do you want to accomplish next? What do you want to be known for? Like, you've done all these amazing things, but they didn't necessarily fulfill you financially, for sure, but they didn't fulfill me. So I had to really deep dive into who I was and create a vision, right? Write it down. I've got great mentors. I started to talk to people. It's sad. We don't talk to other men. Men don't talk to other men. We're scared.
Pretty well.
Right?
Yep.
We're like, oh, that's weak, telling other men about our problems. Is it? Or does it take a lot of strength to tell another man your problems?
Yes, and yes.
It takes a lot of strength to look at another grown ass man and be like, hey, you got 8 minutes, right? Talk about 8 minutes, depending on where you're at. And that turns into an hour, and the right people that actually know who you are and where your heart is will give you the time. And, you just bounce things off. You have to kind of just play with things to find direction, find purpose, and land in a safe place. Right? It's really important on who you talk to, right? Because they can take you anywhere.
So I love this idea of building yourself versus finding yourself. Because in my history, there have been these moments where I've thought finding was the verb. I thought I would go out and like a Pokemon, I would just be in the wild and like capture future me, right? And I would have this enlightened happenstance where I walk in someplace, I meet the person, the investor, the partner, the woman, like who knows? I'm just going to wander into it. And what I've slowly discovered about myself is that those are interesting stories that I want to believe are taking me in the right direction, but they're really just another story of avoiding, sitting still and thinking and deciding who I want to become.
Yeah.
You're overseas, I think, is a really good strategy. You get to zoom out, and in that, was there a moment that lightning struck, or was it a compounded, slow day to day of deciding what you were going to stand on?
Both. I think the small moments create the big moment. It's compounded little moments created the moment of which I finally, poof. I booked a table for dinner in the most coolest place ever at the top of the Four Seasons in Bali by myself. And they looked at me and still set it up for 2 people because their brains could not process. Table for 1 by myself in the most beautiful, romantic, singular place of a table in the Four Seasons. And it was the first time I felt comfortable eating alone. It was the first time I felt value in who I was as a man.
With nothing around you.
Nothing around, right? I always needed the person to talk to. Let's talk about the next strategy. We constantly ask other people for advice. Rarely do we talk to the only person that knows everything that's going on in our lives, ourselves. Yeah. And that's the insanity of that, of us seeking advice of others. And like, have you written down your thoughts? Have you kind of just evaluated the situation? Have you made a plan for yourself on what would make you happy or what you even believe would make you happy, right? Start with a blueprint. I would venture to say 95% of people would say no. And I was no up until that point, right? Sometimes we operate like it's an accident. When life goes so well, you can operate like it's an accident.
Always. Yeah. Anytime you're winning.
When life doesn't go well, you're in trouble. You don't have a backup plan. You don't have a blueprint to like, all right, if A, then B, or what's the fallback or what's the North Star? So that was the day. Like, it was so much writing. I wrote all of my thoughts down on a daily basis. I wrote all the things that I thought were real or mattered. And then slowly over time, I didn't have the answers yet of what really mattered. I didn't. And so I slowly over time figured out what would matter. And I'm going to sidebar real quick. This is a real good topic here. Is I went to a career coach, one of the best career coaches for the Fortune 500 CEOs. And I said, hey, I've been through all this trauma. I'm looking for my next career advice. And you don't even know the story here. And this is great. I said, what's my next career advice? And so he went through it. And he said, Phil, I can't even coach you yet. He goes, I go, why? He goes, listen, one, I'm real expensive. And I go, I'll try and afford it. He was very expensive, very, very expensive. I didn't want to afford it, by the way, once I learned his fee. But after going through that, he said to me, there's two things I need you to do. I need you to read a book called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, so that you understand that you need to find purpose in suffering, right? It's a big main point of the book. And then the second one, he says, before we could even think about a job, and this is going to touch all men and or women that see this, is he said, I need you to fast forward. Your daughter at the time, I think she was 6 or 7. He said, you're going to fast forward 20 years. You're going to write a speech. I'm going to get emotional. You're going to write a speech at her wedding that she's going to read about you. And what does she say? He goes, so if we're going to pick a career, is it going to be, my dad flew around the world. He was this big executive CEO. He crushed big deals. We were on jets. We did all these things, but he missed a lot of the time with me, and he wasn't there all the time, but he provided me a life of luxury, and I was able to do everything I've ever wanted. He goes, and that's at this end of the spectrum. He goes, or is it my dad sacrificed his career to be there for every play, to be there for every recital, to drive me to school every day, to make my lunch every day? Or is it somewhere in between? And his exact words to me, Phil, both extremes are right. Both extremes are perfectly okay. But what do you want her to say? And that, for anybody that's ever done this, when you write this, he made me read it out loud. It took me 45.
The writing sucks. The reading kills you.
45 minutes to read 2 pages. I couldn't stop the emotion. I looked like my entire family was nuked by the time this was over. My face was raw.
Right.
It was, and it was real. And it was the greatest exercise of my life. It was the greatest exercise I've ever done, because the thought of what she's going to say, and both spectrums are great. Your dad was amazing. He crushed it in business and he showed me how to do it. He sacrificed it. They're both amazing. They're both amazing in different ways, like depending on what you're looking for. But it really brought me to my knees to write this, and it was somewhere in between. And it ended up to where, I brought her into the circle of decision. And that made so much more power in when I made the decision on what to do next.
What did she say to you?
She's funny. She's a funny kid. And I said, hey, honey, daddy needs to figure out what he does next. She goes, well, the greatest job in the world is a doctor. They save lives. So you should be a doctor. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. So, I look at like Harvard Med School. I started to take a couple classes, things like this. I did the enrollment thing. And I'm like, what am I doing? I don't want to be a doctor. So I go back to her and I said, what if doctors worked for daddy? And she said, whoa, we get to tell all the doctors who lives and who dies? Like, that's amazing. That is so powerful. That's even better than being a doctor. Well, it's not exactly how this goes, but something like that. And it was such an amazing discussion. And I said, my daughter's name is Mia Bella, which is my beautiful. And we came up with the name with my business partner at the time, Courtney. Vita Bella means beautiful life, or life is beautiful. And so when we came up with the company, she had a lot of inspiration for the name. She had a lot of inspiration in what I did in building this company. But it was a way to get her to lean in, so that way she knows the importance of dad's work and she can see the legacy of what I built. I mean, I I chased opportunities so much that made sense on paper. This was the first one that I did that had purpose and a legacy to do more than just me. It was more than me. It's not about me. It's about changing the world and doing more for others. And when we'll get to it, but when you start to operate out of selflessness, the amount of God's grace and favor is crazy. Like, not to talk about God, but I'm remiss not to. I have to get to this side of the topic. Is every time I questioned him, I think all intelligent people have to question God's existence, right? The smarter you are, the more you're like, is it real? And then every single time he would show me how fucking real he was. Every single time, whether it was, you're going to question my gift, you're going to question my pathway. I gave you the keys, and this is what you did with the keys. You used them on the wrong door. What are you doing? I gave you the door. And so and the more I started to lean in, you're like, these are one in it, like six, like when one thing happens, coincidence, two things, maybe really high coincidence, like six things in a row, people coming forward to help you, businesses, fortune traded companies willing to do things to proliferate you and help you move forward. You can't make it up. I mean, every time I walk away, Aaron, every time I try to be like, it's just not working, Vita Bella, every time I try to walk away, he's just like, not yet. Here's a windfall of something. Here's another person to help you. Here's 500% growth here. And you're like, how did this happen? We didn't change anything. We never changed anything. It's just his grace.
Man, I love the story of seeing the end game with your daughter in mind. That's a great context. I've lived by something I was told really young. I don't even know who told it to me, but he said something to the effect of, a man becomes strong when he can feed everyone that sits at the table with him, but a man becomes powerful when he can sit by himself. And dude, alone has probably been my deepest driver. I don't want to be alone. I don't like being alone. I hate sitting in the stillness because the silence is deafening. Yep. It's just a constant racetrack in my head. And if I sit still long enough, I have had historically a hard time navigating that storm, that chaos. Yeah. So I love that in the chronicle of Bali, sitting at the top of this tower, rather than being surrounded by everyone, you can be alone. You can be still out of choice, not out of like surrender. And then to build this where you could say, I'm going to fight for something bigger. I think that's fucking awesome. I also know that the journey there and the timeline there is bigger than what most men might acknowledge or want to talk about. So I can very much appreciate that. When I think to the moments where I've had a commitment made of what I'm going to build, on the outside, there's this fighter in me that is so convicted about what I'm doing that I'm like, yes. And inside, as I race through all those commitments, fear starts to get really, really loud. So I'm curious where fear showed up for you in the very beginning when you made these declarations and these commitments and started having conversations about what Vita Bella was going to be and started to really build out your vision. What was going through your mind? Not on the this is possible side, but the dark side of the moon where things got noisy internally.
Fear, doubt, they're always going to be there. And I say this a lot to myself is I don't quiet the demons. My job isn't to quiet the demons in my mind. My job is just to let them know who's in charge. And that's where I think the difference came from. It was the first time that I wasn't trying to run with alcohol, drugs, women, whatever it may be. I literally said, scream as loud as you can, and I will show you who's in charge. So it was me to be the leader of the demon and take control of them and let them run ruthlessly in my mind, but tell them where they get to hang out. And that's really what happened and that's a process. It's a process in itself. It doesn't come naturally, right? As men, we rarely want to even, we run, right? We obsess over work. And when I didn't have any work, I had to figure it out. So the fear became a lot. I had to figure out, like, are you capable of becoming the man that you need to be to build this business? And are you humble enough to build a brand new startup from the bottom and be a nobody and try and make this thing happen? And I lied to myself in early days. I made it bigger than it was. And, I'm like, yeah, guys, it's crushing. And in the inside, I'm like, fuck.
Yeah. Zero is a big number.
It looked great. I mean, and what we were doing, like, on the surface, what everybody saw, we were doing way better than we were initially. And I was leaning into that. And the more I kept lying to myself, like, the less I would get help. And so when I was honest and I'm like, listen, it's at a point where I need to make decisions, a lot of people leaned in. So it was any man that says they built a business on their own and they're like, yeah, self-made, fuck off. Like, there's not a single self-made man that I know. Because guess what? To be successful, you need a fucking army. You
Dude,
need a team.
I think, that's like a toxic comment, right? To be like, I did it all by myself.
Yeah, it takes an army. I mean, here at Vita Bella, I have an army. I've got people that hate me certain days. They hate me because, I show up and I'm like, but the day that you come and you say, I did it by myself it's a slap in the face to everybody else. Nothing without my team. It was trying to create something that I could have never imagined. So just going back to your point of, what was it like? It was a shit show, man. The transition of building this, the vision. I think that we all go through ups and downs, right, in our own brains. And it's up to us to find amazing people to help level set us and help build and help get us there. Like, finding the right people is the only way to scale. Finding the right people is the only way to build a big brand and build a big company. But it's toxic in your mind, man. I don't have the right or wrong answer for this question. It's extremely toxic. I spent late nights awake. Your mind keeps racing, but to overcome the fears, it's incremental moves every day. You have to move the damn puck. You got to move the yardstick. You got to find positive yard. If you go a half a yard, right? Not every day is a first down.
Amen to that.
And you're not going to always win. There's been two undefeated teams ever. Two. You're going to have losers. You just got to embrace it.
I feel like first downs if you're observing entrepreneurship from the outside, first downs happen all the time, right? Every day is a Tom Brady, like, Super Bowl day. Once you actually get into the game, and anybody listening probably is pretty heavy into the game, a first down is really fucking rare. Like, they actually don't happen that often. It is usually a game of, okay, we moved a foot today. All right, we moved 20 today. Hey, we got 10 yards today, but it wasn't the first down because of last quarter. So you're constantly in this uphill battle. And I love this comment about making sure your team is strong because you're not the only one on the field. How did you get others to believe in a vision when you're also navigating the battle internally? It's not there yet. It's not real yet, but you need them bought in and probably have days where you don't even believe the vision. How did you get someone excited? Was it just communication? Was it energy? How did you create this movement that people got behind?
I think that anybody that knows me I come with infectious energy. Infectious. Like I wake up like this every day. I'm in the gym at 4:30, and you would think like I'm on cocaine and 20 coffees and everything else. And it's just, I wake up feeling like every day is an opportunity to succeed. And I don't have many bad waking up days. I'm going to be honest. Like my waking up, I learned in Bali, it's a choice. You get to choose how you want to approach the day. And that doesn't mean I go to bed feeling the same fucking way. Let me be very good. Some days I'm like, Jesus, why did I build this company? My God, what am I doing? I had a peaceful life before this. But getting around people, I'm not for everybody. I'm going to be very clear. This is the best advice I could give people that are hiring is be you. There's a lot of people that love me. There's a lot of people that hate me, and there's very few fuckers in between. And it was up to me to figure out where you are on the spectrum. And if you were in the middle, you're not for me.
Yeah, steer to one side or the other.
A lot of energy. I show up with passion. I show up with fire. I'm constantly stressing and pushing my team for the best. I don't show up to work every day to be liked, ever. I don't show up to be liked. I don't show up to be loved. I don't show up to be your friend. My job is to get you to stretch yourself every day and to grow. And if you can show a vision to people that you truly care about their growth and not just about their finance, because people don't go where they are for money. I disagree with this emphatically. I've proven it point and point again and time again. If people are going to go where they are, where they feel valued, they feel the opportunity to grow, and the mission is bigger than themselves.
Amen. I think those are very critical. Love those.
And that's where the differentiator came from is I believe in the people. And my team hates that I say this, but I say it every day. I said, none of you are the best. None of you. You're not even in the top 10 of my choices of the best people for this role. You're not. I go, but you know what you are? You're good humans. You're a loving human. You're dedicated. You're loyal. And deep down inside, you have a good heart. And to me, the good heart is way more important than getting the best possible result for every single situation, excluding patients. Let me be clear. Patients need the best results. But internally, operationally, marketing, I want to have good people that want the best. And so when they see that and they see that you're willing to invest in them, you give good equity, you give a portion of the company. I am not cheap on my equity. I give equity away to all the employees. I've given equity away to the guy who made the logo. I've given equity away to my partners. I've given equity away to marketing companies. I've given equity away to so many different people to help me grow this business, because I believe if you give people a part of the possible outcome and the sale of the company, the result that you're going to get from them is so much in multiples. You'll see an incremental dedication and love that you've never seen before. And so I want, and we're all on performance plans. That's another thing, is everybody at the company, we all go and grow together. As the company does better, your pay plan does better. Everyone, Aaron, everyone, from web to doctors, everyone in the company, as we move the needle, everyone's pay goes up. Everyone. And that was key to building a really good team. And we're continuing to build a good team. And do I make mistakes? Oh my God, do I make bad mistakes in hiring? I do. So I think that a bigger lesson for me specifically is be slow to hire and fast to fire. Toxic can just get after you. I've made bad mistakes myself. My team's made bad mistakes. They're lessons, dude. You learn. Like, you got to make mistakes. You got to learn.
Two-part question, because as I hear you share this, I'm aware that most of the leaders that come to us for help in their quantum leap are often battling scarcity. So, two-part question. A, how do you make sure you don't get caught in that? Because if you're giving away equity and allowing people to grow and paying them more, that's the abundant action that allows you to live and grow this organization. And then two, how do you push them and hold them to who they can be, not who they are?
It's a great question. So one, equity is over a vesting schedule. So that's one, right? So you protect yourself on the vesting schedule as they stay annually, their shares vest and their options vest. And I think that the scarcity of you giving away equity, if I gave away 10% of zero, guess what? Still zero. What are you afraid? What are you afraid to give people? If they show up and they are it, he is him. Who is him? He's the guy, the needle mover that made things happen. He's the needle mover. Beyond entrepreneurship 2.0, right? Whoever that is, right? That game changer. And you get that person, invest in them, right? But everybody else, that doesn't mean don't invest in them. It just means that if you're investing consistently on these individuals, you will get a better outcome than if you didn't. And how do you hold them accountable? Is you need milestones. You've got to create, some people I have to micromanage, and I have, what are you going to do today? And at the end of the day, did we accomplish it? And others, I have a very strict thing with certain people. And I say, hey, you got it? I got it. That means I'm not calling you. I'm not checking up on you. I'm not sending you an email. I'm not going to say, hey, what happened here? You said you got it. That means you got it. That just means it's done. And so I like to look at, what's your impact on the organization? What's your impact on your role? Are you growing? Are you investing in yourself? Are you investing in learning new things? Are you trying to get better? Like there's certain people that have came to our company that have destroyed some of our systems and processes, and they're like, this is horrible. And they've elevated us. I mean, 200-300% in efficiencies in certain areas. And that should be rewarded. And then there's other people that come and they paint a great picture. And I'm going to get to a really good point in a second. They paint a great picture and then they don't show up. And this goes into hiring. I do a lot of what I call live on-job in-seat interviews. Like, let's just start you on a 2-week contract. Let's put you in the role. I think I made the right decision. I'm not 100% sure. Let's give you a certain dollar figure. Let's see if you are who you say you are. That has fast-tracked so many decisions, both good and bad. And I'll tell you, I've been real surprised on both. Like some people, I'm like, there's no way. And then they come and they're like, masterpiece Picasso. And you're like, wow. And others, you're like, this guy's got the best pedigree. He came from the best marketing company. He did the best work. He has the most accolades, the most awards. You put him in and you're like, hey, make a testosterone ad. And it's a flop. And so you got to give people room to grow and room to surprise. You can't micromanage all the time. You've got to just give people the room and the runway to succeed.
It sounds like the way you operate your business is a lot like a coach. Like you're not managing, right? You put them in the game, see how they play, and then that determines whether they stay on the team or they go onto the reserves for development or they stay in as your starter. Is that an accurate metaphor?
It is. And I also think that we got to remember if you franchise the player, because this is going to be a lot of people are thinking about who's on their team right now. If you franchise a player in your company, you've put a lot of time into them, put a lot of effort. And I think that the one caveat to this whole thing about firing fast is if you put a lot of time, effort, and a person has, the ability to do it and they're just not doing it, spend the extra time. Spend the extra time to try and figure out what's going on in their life to get them to lean in a little bit more. It's hard when you lose a franchise person. So yeah, I coach them. I let them run. I let them know, where we need improvements, what I need to see. And then I put bonuses and cash are so easy to move the needle sometimes. Some people, you also have to figure out what motivates people, Aaron. Some people are not motivated by money. Some people want a vacation. They want more time. They want you to just call their name out in all hands meeting. And you're like, that will get you amazing runway with that.
Yeah, you got to know your players.
Yeah. Like what
Man,
motivates people? I don't always do a good job. I don't. I fall short of greatness every single day. And that's part of just growth. And I think that that's the first step of growth is knowing that we fall short. You're not perfect.
yeah. Yeah. You can't be the guy that thinks you're great and not be great at the same time.
How do you begin, right? What is it? The 12-step program. First step is admitting we got a problem, right? And that's the step is understanding that there's more. Like there's more to this whole thing.
So I'm really curious about this. You've got this is me learning as much as anybody listening. You're a single dad. I'm a single dad. And that has changed the context of everything for me. Now my little man's young. Your daughter's a little bit older, but it still is a context for everything that I look at and assess how much I work, how much I'm off, how I take care of myself, the boundaries that I have, the time that I'm working, the moments where I know I got to overwork, but how I plan and navigate that. It just creates a different sense. It also creates a different sense of urgency. How does your relationship with your daughter change the way you both lead in the organization and the amount of time that you're in the pocket working?
The first thing that I do is I wake up at 4:30 in the morning. Why? I hate working out at 4:30 in the morning, Aaron. But it's so that when my daughter wakes up, I'm back home to spend that time with her. I have to go to bed at 8:30 every night. My daughter and me go to bed at the exact same time, 8:30, 9 o'clock every single night. And the reason why we do that is so I can get enough sleep. It remains the discipline for just the sleeping hours so that 4:30 works with the gym. I believe that you start the day, feeling amazing, get your endorphins running, you take the edge off. Getting back to work, it's not going to be what the most successful men want to hear. And the guys that have the mission and money, is the North Star. We work to live. We live to work. And you have to choose, some days, why am I doing this? Like some days I have to be, reminded by Doc and some other people in my company of like, hey, don't you got to get your daughter? Aren't you? Don't you have something planned? And I think it takes a conscious effort. Like what do our children up to a certain age, and this is going to be, this is the nuts and bolts here for those of you that are parents, is up to a certain age, we're really important, right? And then they hit about 12, 11, she's going through it right now. I'm not that cool anymore. I'm like, I'm the coolest. Are you kidding? They drop me off around the corner. What?
Dang, kid. Ooh,
a lot for this car. We want to show up. We want to have fun. Like, what are you doing? Dropping up.
It's spicy, man.
Put me around the corner. Pick me up around the corner. I'm like, it gets to that point, but up until that point, right? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We're really deep in it. And then their friends become more important. The reason why I say this is up to a certain point, you are the morals, the values, the ethics, everything going into there. And then it's their top 5 friends. So be there. I'm trying to be there as much as I can. After work, I go and I try to shut down. I put my phone down until about 7:30 when she's taking a shower, and I catch up and do things. But we have, it's funny you say that, is we have a phone locker, and she has the key. And so when it's our time, I have to put my phone in a locker that she locks, which I have a spare key. Make sure, fathers, you have a spare key. In case that she loses this. And that's our hour. That's our 2 hours of just extreme focus on each other, playing games, playing pickleball, going to the gym, going to the trampoline park. Those moments and those memories, it's not what we buy them. It's not where we take them, on a vacation. It's the moments of consistency, of the things that we consistently do with our children that are the game changers, like the everyday cards or the everyday pickleball or the everyday gym or whatever it ends up being. Those consistent moments create traditions in their brain where they get to witness commitment. They get to witness what this relationship is supposed to be like. I don't think there's tons of us that had all toxic families, toxic relationships, and we can be the change. We could be the individuals that step forward and change. So it was, I constantly, navigate these things and go all over on your question, but there's so much to it. It's some days you can't show up at 100%. Show up at 80. It doesn't mean don't show up at all. It doesn't mean outsource. I mean, my daughter's been everywhere with me. She's been on dates. She's been to business meetings. She's been to dinners. Like if I can't schedule around it, and by the way, she's amazing. She'll come to the dinner, close the deals herself, right? She's funny, fun. I'm like, what do you think? And she's like, Daddy, headwinds and tailwinds, right? Headwinds and tailwinds. And she goes, call the headwinds out and just take the tailwinds and run. And I'm like, this is great. She has no idea what she's talking about, but it's perfect.
Good words though. So, okay. So what do you say to now I know the answer to this for myself, but I think people can stand to hear it. What do you say to the guy who says, well, before I can prioritize her or him or them, I have to get certain things in place and I need to just grow the business and I need to check off all these boxes before I can spend the time with the family. What do you say to that guy?
Our time here is short. Our time with our children is so short. It was yesterday. My daughter was 3. You're always going to have time to grow a business. You're always going to have time to build something amazing. You are not always, and you will not have a second chance to be there for your children. And again, I bring it back to God. If you miss a meeting because you had an obligation with your daughter, and I've done it, monumental 3-month prepared meeting in advance. And my daughter comes to me and she goes, hey, I have a thing at my school and I'm performing. And it just happened to be on the day of this meeting, 6:30 p.m. dinner. And every person in my company, this helped with culture. Every person in my company said, Phil, you got to be at the meeting. It's the most important meeting. And I said, tell them I can't make it. And if they can't make it tomorrow, it's God's will. And my stomach dropped. My stomach gone, right? But going back to 20, going back to 20 years from when I wrote that letter, what's it say? And that's how you have to operate, is you'll always be able to have another meeting. You'll always be able to do something. You're going to spend an hour or 2 hours is not going to make or break your day, your month, or your year. And if it does, you fucking blow at time management. And you as leader, figure it out, figure out your meetings and be there. Like there's always going to be another opportunity. There is. I mean, and then you're going to come and be like, oh, there's only that one chance, that one time, cool. Then it's not meant to be. And
I also feel like if that person or persons that you were going to meet with hears that you had to prioritize your daughter and they blow you off, man, you dodged a real bullet.
They're not for you. Why would
They're not for you. Yeah. You let them fly. They're not for you.
It's like the guy that, they always say, I forget who it was, might have been Ed Milet, and he talked about cheating. He goes, if the man that you're with, the guy that you're looking to do business with, is cheating on his wife and you know it, that's the most coveted, trusting relationship this man has. You think he won't do it to you? The most trusting, closest, covenant relationship that he has with his wife, and you think he won't do it to you. And I think that hit me in my chest so hard one day that I had to realign a lot of people.
Yeah.
I, I I don't know if it was just me being an idiot or blind to the fact, but I'm like, whatever, it doesn't bother me. It's got nothing to do with me. It doesn't affect my life. But that was a big moment for me. It was a big moment to say, careful who you're hanging out with. And if they're willing to do it to the people that you would never imagine them doing it to, who are you?
So let's send a message to that person or someone that feels like their profession is everything to them, right? Because in a sense of being, that individual has prioritized something above their relationship, whether it's money or their business, what have you, whether it's hedonistic or otherwise. There are a lot of people, whether they're cheating or not, that their soul is dying in their role, whether it's because they built the business so far around themselves or their business got so far from what they intended it to do, right? They're being eaten alive and are out of integrity with their values, what they believe in. They're missing fulfillment. And that road, not only is it incredibly lonely, despite how many people might work for you, report to you, celebrate you, it's isolating because you can't say it typically. What does that person do this week? Where can they start to go down the path that you went down, where you had to exit something, had to go through your pocket of transition, had to fight through your battle with yourself to then come to this mission, this more holistic version of you? But what do they do this week?
Mentally, think of life like a butterfly and a caterpillar. Are you willing to give up who you are today for who you might become? Are you willing to give that up? First, you need to make a decision of the first step is you need to sit down and become real and honest with yourself. Do you have the right people around you? That's number one. Number two is, are you delegating or are you controlling? Because there's no ability to scale. There's no time for you to have with your family if you can't delegate to your team and you can't give up those opportunities to where you give people big decisions and big things for them to either flourish or make a mistake. So most people's time management is failure to delegate. Most people don't move because it's not because they can't. It's a decision. Like if in the next week you make a decision to do better, you make a decision to empower your people, you make a decision to, build out some part of your business, be a better father. It's not hard. Life is a decision away. It's just making a decision. I really don't think this is this esoteric advice that I'm going to give. We suck. We don't want to make a decision, Aaron. We want to go to this podcast. We want to go to a friend. What should I do? What should I do with my girl? What should I do with my business? What do you think I should do with this employee? You know what you should do. You just don't make the decision. And then more importantly, you don't trust yourself with the decision. So therefore you go and do it on your own. Yeah. We think, how many of us think, I know I'm the best person to talk about Vella on the phone. I'm the best. How's that going to scale? It's not. So I have to watch others fail and grind my teeth while they learn. I mean, just chiseling off enamel consistently while I watch them on the phone. But it's the only way they learn. If you want to go from where you are to where you want to be, or you want to take yourself from, 2 million to 5 million, 5 million to 10 million, 10 million to 50 million, it's scale. You need to empower your people. You need to make decisions. So it's just not operating out of fear. I mean, fear is fake. It's by the way, fear is not even an emotion. It's self-created. Anxiety, self-created. Anxiety, we're worried about the future. Depression, we're worried about the past. We live in the here and the now. What are you going to do today? And if you have a lot of anxiety and you have a lot of fear, What did you do today to eliminate that fear? What did you do to move the needle? What did you do to empower your team, move yourself, drive? You're in control. And they're like, oh man, every day's a grind. There's just so much coming at me. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing as an individual? And what are you doing as a leader to change that? And I think that the biggest thing I hate of individuals is that complain every day about something and do nothing about it. A girl I used to date long ago, she changed my whole life. She looked at me and she said, you love to make, she goes, you enjoy making love to the problem. You love it. You just sit there and marinate in it all day. She goes, just fix it. Stop talking about it. She goes, it's the fourth day you've brought up the same problem. She goes, have you put in a job description? Have you put something on a job board? Have you launched something on LinkedIn? She goes, you keep complaining about the same position, that it's not there and you have to fill the role. What have you done? She goes, until you've done something, shut up. I don't want to hear about it anymore. And that's how we all got to operate. To make a decision to do something more, Aaron. I think that your group of people, they're not lost. They're not definitive. They're not aligning. Like, how did you get to that point? You made decisions. You launched an LLC. You signed for you made decisions. But at some point, you get decision fatigue, and then you get the fear and the scarcity. And all you have to do is fail fast, fail often, learn from your mistakes. Don't do analysis paralysis. Give people opportunities to shine. People will surprise you. People will surprise you. So it's a long answer to the question.
It's a great answer. Vita Bella and everything you stand for there is really about empowering men. You and I had a long conversation at lunch about this way of operating that a lot of men get stuck in, where it's passive or it's overly assertive, right? It isn't this core of leadership that I actually think you can only access if you know yourself really well and you understand what you are planted in, where your root is. We didn't really talk much about Vita Bella. This was really about the journey to it. But I want to give you a floor to share what this mission is really all about. Because we've talked about how you got to this place, but where is the place? What is the thing that this is all about?
Vita Bella is my passion project for life. It is my legacy that I will leave behind. And it represents the revolution in health and wellness. And it comes down to is so many companies, so many doctors, clinics charge insane amounts of money for people to be healthy, for you to feel good about yourself. And Vita Bella represents the revolution that healthy, not just for the wealthy. We want to bring, we serve both men and women, but I've got a passion for men specifically because we're in a society right now where toxic masculinity is a word, which it shouldn't even be. There's no such thing as toxic masculinity. There's just assholes. That's what it's called. It's an asshole.
Yes.
Like, it's alphas and masculine men are needed in this world. It's biblical. We provide, we protect, we lead, and we help people through everything in life, right? We show our families, that we love them and we show up for them every day. And so we built a company, and we built a whole new business around this called Bringing Alphas Back. We've got a Bringing Alphas Back podcast coming, bringingalphasback.com. It's free testosterone for men for the rest of their God-given life, as long as they're part of our membership program. And I did that because so many men are hormonally dysfunction, right? You're talking about like showing up as your best version of yourself. What if it's biological? So many men are deficient in testosterone. We're watching men come in at 120, 136 testosterone levels. They should be at 6, 7, 8, 900. I like to dial in between 800 and 1200. And testosterone changes your life. You walk different, you talk different, you look different. Peptides, there's just so much in the marketplace that people didn't know. So I built Vella to be not only the most comprehensive health and wellness company, but more importantly, a safe place for people to come and affordable for people to come and learn, about peptides, hormones, sexual wellness, all of the, weight loss drugs, anti-aging products, and then speak to licensed and certified and trained doctors that can transcend their life into a place that they could have never imagined at a price point they've never heard about. Because most of these things that we do at Vita Bella, people think are crazy prices. They're not. They're actually way more affordable than you know about. There's just companies that are raking you over the coals, like Fountain Life and all the $20,000 for an annual membership. Insanity to me. But there's just an amazing journey that I want to do to help men and women. But a big push on men is I've got a daughter. So I'm worried about the future of men. Who's she going to date? What's she going to come up? How's she going to come into a relationship? How's she going to be treated? We've got so many men that don't show up anymore. Like, women have been forced into their masculine, Aaron. They've been forced because we're not showing up. So I just want us to show up more. I want us to become a deeper connection with ourselves, start listening to our own bodies. I mean, if you're not going to listen to yourself talk and what's going on in your own head, at least listen to your body so you can show up physically, and just, be there, be present.
There's something really special about having talks with people that know what they're doing, with people that are passionate about what they're doing. Like, this is a subject that I find really fascinating. I've gone down my peptide journey and my health journey to get more dialed in, and lo and behold, these are not new things. These are like 30 years old, right? But it has not been democratized. And I hear in some sense that part of your mission is to democratize this and make it more readily available, and almost in like a Robin Hood kind of way, right? To bring it back down from where it was so overly expensive that the average person couldn't consider it, let alone decide to do it.
Yeah.
And the way I hear you talk about it, this is also very much what your journey was, to go from like the top of the top and to be the guy that had everything to now the guy that can support from the bottom, right? That can be the foundation for men versus stand at the top of the mountain and command up top. So I have so much respect for not just what you're building, but how you're building it. The way you talk about leadership and team and culture is so special. And then to do it from the lens of service. And I think often service or impact and the building of a business, right? Capitalism, are hard to intersect. It takes a lot of conscious effort to intersect these two. So as our final question here, I'd love to just get your take on how someone who wants to build impact, who wants some kind of legacy, who wants something that allows their business or their focus not to be just money. Their North Star is not money, but that they have to play the game. And you found a way to merge the North Star of something bigger with the game that we all have to play. How would you help someone do the same if they can't seem to find that intersection?
It's a blessing and a curse. Find it. I'm going to be honest. It's a blessing and a curse. It gives you so much purpose. It gives you so much fulfillment. It makes you feel like the absolute best version of you. But you take on a level of ownership that you never had when money was your focus. Take on a level of responsibility that you never had when money was the North Star. And you end up finding out that there's a way larger windfall at the end of this when money is not your goal. Surprise.
Yeah, shocker.
I think you need to have faith, you need to have patience, and you need to understand what type of impact you want to make. It's different for everyone. I think you really need to sit down with yourself and determine what would make you happy. And happiness is unsustainable. So maybe what makes you feel the most joy? What makes you feel the most rewarding? And I say being proud. Like, normally men aren't meant to be happy or joyful. We should be proud of the life that we've created for those around us. Smiles you see around you, the more pride and proud you should feel. And I think that that's sustainable. Is how many people around you are smiling because of what you've done, because of what you've built. You should feel very proud. And that is an absolute sustainable feeling. But I don't think that there's a right or wrong answer. I think that you have to dig deep into yourself. You have to understand who you are as an individual. And it's different for everyone. Going back to the conversation of, is it on a jet everywhere all over the world, or is it being a stay-at-home dad taking care of your child every day? In your business, it's the same thing. Alex Hormozy talks about this a lot. He said, you either have to do something crazy cheap with a lot of people, or what he loves more, do something that a lot of people want, the absolute best, and charge 3 times as much for it. And I think those are the things you have to decide as an individual. You have to decide, what do you want to do? Who do you want to serve? I think that it requires focus. It requires you listening to you, the things that we don't want to do, the things, God, for you just said it yourself, right? I don't want alone time. Like, it requires alone time. It requires solitude and sitting there in your thoughts to really listen to who you are. And you might not get it right the first time, but through iteration, you're going to get it right. And whatever, the bigger the vision, the more insane the operating system that you're going to have to build in your mind. And what got you to wherever you were is not going to get you to the next place, right? We always say that. Just take some steps back. Like, in order for you to really answer that question, it's a leap backwards, because you're going to have to remove the pressure. You're going to have to remove all the anxiety. You're going to have to remove the weight of your shoulders. So you're going to have to take 5, 10 steps backwards so that you don't feel that, to really understand who and what you are and to figure out what you want to build.
I'm very proud, which may or may not land with you the way I intended, but I'm very proud of all the work that you've done to get here. And the stepping back, the solitude, the aloneness is a very, very scary thing, I think, for most people.
Yeah.
To come out the other side is special, but also to go from running from something to running to something. Like, you and I, we don't have to do this. We get to do this.
Yeah.
And there's a pressure and a privilege that comes with that. But man, I'm so grateful that we got to talk through this. And I hope that for anybody listening, what I think Phil is offering more than anything is probably uncomfortable for you, but it's a series of questions, not a series of answers. Like, I've asked him questions, but his responses should generate questions in you. And I hope that you take those questions on as bravely as he did, or half as bravely as he did, because the output is magnificent. Phil, just as we close out, where can people follow along? Where can they learn about Vita Vella? Where can they go if they need some help?
Absolutely. So vitabella.com, VITA Bella, BELLA.com, Vita Bella Health on all of the social platforms. I would be remiss without saying, I don't care what company you guys sign up for. I don't care if it's us or any competitor. The only advice that I have for you is get your labs checked, get your blood work done. It's the GPS. The only way to know where you're going is to know where you are. You got to start with where you are today and do something, because so many of us are walking around not optimal, and your best life is ahead of you. So again, this isn't my best sales pitch. It's humility and authenticity. it means more to me that you feel better about yourself, period, than you coming to my company and you being part of my company. Love for you to be part of us and see the difference. But, Vita Bella, baby, all the way. Life is beautiful and it's a beautiful life. And I couldn't be more thankful, Aaron, for you bringing me here and giving me a platform to kind of talk to people and answer some damn difficult questions here at the end of the day. But you got real answers, man. I tried to keep this as real as possible and be as vulnerable as possible.
You did great, man. I will second and double click on anything Phil says. I would encourage you to get your lab work done. It's been like, I'm fit and I've been fit since I was 16 and still learned a lot from seeing the numbers and looking at a pretty wide spread of data. So I really encourage men to do that in particular. And this is my vote of confidence. Head over to Vita Bella, reach out to them, get started, tell them I sent you, and get moving in some regard. Even just knowing where you stand can be the beginning of change. So, Phil, I'm so grateful for today, man. Thank you for being here, for being so raw, and I hope you guys enjoyed this show. If you did, leave us a review, reach out to Vita Bella, get active with them, and pay attention. We're going to be doing a lot more of these with guests that have remarkable stories.
Thank you. Appreciate you, man.